Today's show is about showing people that you can do whatever you want to do in sobriety as long as you have the right mindset. Stay tuned.
Don't stress, live life one day at a time. Don't drink or drug and you'll be fine.
Welcome back to Staying Sober with Papa Joey. Today I'm going to talk about how I was able to stay sober working in a strip club and other night. So, how did I get started working in a strip club? Well, here's the story. A friend of mine that I met in Alcoholics Anonymous was an investor. He invested in stocks and different type of real estate. Well, one day at a meeting, or I should say after a meeting, he came up to me and said, "Hey, uh, the local strip club in town burned down, and they're rebuilding, and I know they're looking for managers. You'd probably be really good at it." And I said, "Listen, no, that's not me. I don't see myself working in a strip club, but I appreciate you thinking of me." And the reason he asked me was he owned the property of that club. He was the mortgage holder. So a couple days later, he came up to me again at a meeting and said, I was talking with the owner, and he told me that they're still looking for DJs. And he said, "Joey, with your music background, you would probably be really good at it. And I know they make really good money." But I was still thinking, no, it's not me. However, I told him, "You know what? Let me think about it." See, one thing my friend knew is at that time I was painting as a subcontractor, and I hated it. I was a lousy painter, but I took this job because I just got divorced about a year and a half before. I had child support to pay. I had to take care of myself, and I was also going to school in evenings. I was taking a film and video classes. So he knew, because we talked about it all the time, that I just hated what I was doing, but I did it. Anyways, I gave it some thought. And one day I said, what the hell? I could probably DJ. I mean, I'm a drummer, but I could probably do it if somebody showed me. So I told him, I'd go talk with the managers that they did hire to see if, they would put me on. So, of course, they did put me on. And the club opened up on a Wednesday evening. And like a fool, I brought my girlfriend with me at that time. So it was pretty interesting. It was a small club. I think the occupancy was under 120, so it was small. And that night it was packed. And out of the 120 people there, 40 of them at the minimum were, dancers. And that night the music was pumping, the lights were flashing, and women were dancing. I was standing in the back with my girlfriend, holding her hand. And the more she saw, the tighter she was squeezing my hand. So after an hour, we left. And in the car, she says, "You're going to be working in there?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to give it a try." And she says, "Okay." Well, needless to say, that relationship, ended, a couple of weeks after that. But anyways, the next day, which was a Thursday night, I was on. Now, again, knew nothing about DJing. I knew about music, like played drums for years, I love music, but knew nothing about DJ. And when I was drinking, I never went to a strip club. I would go to venues that had live music, or back in my day, they had discos. I would hang out in a disco. But strip club, nah, that just wasn't for me. So I show up about an hour early. So the DJ that was working that night sort of real quickly gave me the rundown as he was DJing. Here's the mixer, here's how this works. We've got 4 CD players, here's the light switch, here's the collection of music. You have to fill out this form when all the dancers come in to sign up. and you have to do hourly drink specials that the waitresses will come up and tell you to run. And what you have to do is introduce each dancer as they come on and as they leave, and then you bring the other one. And in the meantime, my head's going, yeah. And the music is loud. The place is, really partying because it's the second day it's been open. People have, missed the club because it was shut down for 30 days. So I'm trying to get everything wrapped into my head. Now, all of a sudden, my nerves start to kick in, right? I've been sober at that time for about 3 years. And I'm thinking, uh-oh. Now I'm standing in the DJ booth, which is above everybody, so you can see the whole club. And, I see all the drinks and, people just having a good time. And all of a sudden I start to think, man, having a nice cold beer right now would be good. It would help me settle my nerves. But I quickly got that out of my mind. So 7 o'clock came. The other DJ said, we'll see you later. Good luck. And you're on. So I put my first CD in the CD player. I introduced my first entertainer. She hit the stage, and I'm going to tell you, for the next 7 hours, it was just bam, 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 and my head was spinning. But at the end of the night, I got through it all. And I made $75 cash for DJing the 7 hours. However, each entertainer tipped me. I don't know how much at the time. They'd come up, say, hey, thank you, put money in my pocket, put it in my hand or whatever, and walk out of the booth. For the most part, the girls were really nice to me. A lot of them, helped me a little. Hey, this is the music I want. Here's what I want you to say. A couple of times they said, hey, you just don't say that. So they kind of like guided me through. The rest of the staff who didn't know me, they had worked there before, were kind of thinking, ugh, this guy's really not that good. And I wasn't. But I did get through it. So that night, come 2:15, I was out of there. I shut everything down. I was gone. Well, I had to be to work the next morning. I had to finish a house that I was painting. But I was starving, so I went to a Denny's nearby. I only lived a couple miles away. So I stopped in at Denny's, ordered breakfast, and while I was waiting on my food, I started to count my money. And to my surprise, I made $400. Now, this was back in 1996, back when I had a lot of hair. But, $400 for 7 hours wasn't that bad. Now, the next morning, I had to get up to finish painting a house that took me 3 days. And because I was a subcontractor and I only painted the exterior, I was getting paid $600. Now, when I got home from painting that day, there was no cell phones back then. There was a message on the answering machine saying, hey, I want you to come in Saturday night and, do the night shift. So I called in. I said, all right, I'll be there. So that's what I did. Saturday night, went back in. DJ felt a little better, but still it was all new to me. Still nervous going in there. But I got done, left, went home, counted my money. I made about $350. So I started to think, I had 2 more jobs that I had to do painting. I said, why not just finish those jobs and then just DJ 4 or 5 shifts a week? Be a lot easier on me. And I can just go to my night classes when I had them. And once in a while, I was able to still pop into an AA meeting. Now, a lot of the people in AA knew that I was planning on, working in the strip club. And many of them said, Joey, you're crazy. Other people said to me, mostly the guys, give it a shot. If you feel uncomfortable, you know what to do. Just, leave. Get out of that atmosphere or finish your shift and tell them it's not right for you. However, I kind of knew that, it was my choice if I was going to drink or not. And I keep choosing not to drink on a daily basis. And I was pretty mentally prepared to go into that type of environment. And one thing about me was, even when I first got sober, at probably about 6 months into my sobriety, my wife had left, taken the kids. I was divorced. I'm a single guy, in Florida. I started going to a dance club maybe once every month or so. And it was no big deal. The worst thing that I hated, the first time I walked in, I asked for a Diet Coke, and they gave it to me in a glass about this big with a straw, sticking out. And I was standing there, trying to act cool, looking like a fool. So the next time I ordered my Diet Coke, I said, "Can you give it to me in a short glass with a stir?" At least I would look like, I was holding a mixed drink. But so I was okay going, around booze at that time, but working in it, I didn't really know if I was going to be okay with it. Well, long story short, I stayed DJing for about 6 months. I was working some night shifts, some day shifts, and once in a while, I was asked to fill in for a manager who needed a night off or if somebody got sick. And as long as I wasn't DJing, they called me in and to let me manage the shift. I didn't really like managing because all I did was, walk around every hour, take a reading from the cash register, see if the bartenders needed, any change or any money. Made sure, the entertainers were okay, made sure, the security was okay. And basically, I just sat around and watch the entertainers dance, or I go up to the DJ booth and talking with the DJ and stuff. But for me, it was boring. I didn't like it, but they paid me pretty good. Nothing like I was making DJ, and I think they were giving me maybe $100 a shift to just manage, which was okay. I did it because I was helping people out, and the one thing for me was because I didn't know many people there when I first started, the old staff basically all came back. So I was the new guy. I became really friendly with the staff. I mean, I respected them. They knew I didn't drink. I didn't hang out with them. But, for the most part, I got along with them, especially and the entertainers. I got along with them. I wasn't fooling around with anybody. Had some opportunities, but I said, no, that's probably not the smartest thing to do. So, all in all, it was a pretty cool experience for me. I got a phone call from the owner, wanted to have breakfast with me. So I'm thinking, I wonder if I screwed up or something. So during this breakfast, he says to me, "Listen, I need a general manager in there, and I'd like you to be the general manager." He already fired two general managers and three managers in the 6 months that I was DJing. And I'm like, I didn't mind the money I was making just DJing. I was fine with it. And I could come and go, no responsibilities other than to make sure that the music was pumping. The girls were, having a good time while on stage, and the people in the audience, the customers, were having a good time. And again, being a musician and entertainer my whole life, that was easy for me to do. But, he said, "Listen, people like you there. I like the fact that you don't drink. I like the fact that you don't hang out with any of them. And I think you'd be great at this job. Plus, you'll get, a good pay." So I thought about it for a moment. I said, "Here's what I'll do. I'll be your general manager. And if it doesn't work out, just let me know. I'll just stay up in the booth." And he said, "You had a deal." I worked there for 2.5 years, being the general manager, and I had a lot of fun. Now, after that, I became a partner in a regular nightclub where we had live music, more like my speed, 5 nights a week. Um, and it was just a regular dance club. People would come in, especially the weekends, we were packed. The band was always great. And there I had a good staff as well. And what I really enjoyed, once in a while, I would say, "Hey, you mind if I could sit in? I'm a drummer." And They let me come up on stage and play, which was always fun because that's what I really enjoyed doing, was playing. So I stayed in that atmosphere for a while, running clubs. The reason I'm telling people this is, so with only 3 years sober, I had to really think things through, like, am I mentally prepared for this? And the answer was yes. And the main reason is because what I've always said on this show, I don't drink or use, I wasn't a drugger, but I don't drink or use no matter what. And no matter what meant no matter what. Going back to the mindset, I understood that I couldn't put any alcohol in me. And I was able to work in that environment and have a good time and be okay. I mean, I was ordering beer, ordering liquor, doing, other things you're supposed to do as a bar manager or part owner or whatever. But it was okay. And the reason it was okay was because I was okay with it. There may be an instance or two or 10 in your life when there's something you really want to do, but you're being held back because you're afraid, because there's going to be alcohol involved or drugs involved, and you're sober and you do have some time. I'm not suggesting if you get sober, for a week or two, to go work in a bar or something, but others have got sober while working in bars. So it can be done, but I'm saying if you're new, might not be a good idea to continue with that atmosphere. And the main thing too, if you're doing drugs and drinking, get away from those people. I mean, those people don't need to be in your life at that time when you're getting yourself, mentally correct, as I would like to call it once in a while. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you understand why you shouldn't put a drink or a drug in your system. Once you internalize that, and once you get it, you go, yeah, man, those were fun days, but I know what happens once I put alcohol in me or drugs. Stuff gets crazy and I can't go back there, and I don't want to go back there. Remember, you can do whatever you want to do. If your mind is set, you know exactly why you shouldn't drink or use. And always remember, don't drink or use no matter what. And no matter what means no matter what. I'll see you the next time.
Think about your surroundings.